I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay.
Mr. President, I make a motion that the minutes of the executive session just held be sealed and...
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thanks, Scott. First on the agenda is I need a motion to sit as licensing
So
board.
moved.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Seconded.
Okay. First on the agenda is a special event permit. Open a hearing for a special event permit filed by Marc Johnson for Foster Parrots Limited for their annual fundraising event, open house, scheduled for September 14th, 2013, from 1 p.m. to 7 p.m., to be held at Foster Parrots Limited, located at 87 Woodville Alton Road, Hope Valley, Rhode Island, identified as Map 8, Lot 1. Is the applicant
Right here.
Hi.
Hi, I'm Stephanie.
Okay, great. Here, I guess, excuse me. What's your, can you state your name, please?
Stephanie Young.
Stephanie Young. Okay, hi, Stephanie. I guess this is, how many years have you been doing this?
This would be our third year.
Okay, yeah. You got quite a setup. It looks like, I noticed the board, very distinctive board of directors.
I'm on the board.
Yeah,
So yes.
if you had half of them, you'd be doing all right. But anyway, yeah, why don't you just explain what's happening and...
It's our third annual open house fundraising event. We have about 150 people have bought tickets so far. We have a band playing. We have complimentary beer and wine on premises. Everything is on the property, including parking, so there should be no street impact there. And it runs from noon to 7.
Okay. I guess, can you have to buy the tickets, I think, in advance?
In advance,
Yeah, right,
yes.
okay. All right.
And you'll have veterinarians attending?
Yes, we will, actually.
I thought that was really wise. You might need a real doctor, too.
There's going to be some of those as well, in an unofficial capacity.
I was going to say, that sounds pretty useful. That way you can protect the parrots and protect the people.
Protect the parrots and
Good
protect
idea.
the people.
You have about 150 people. You said you don't feel like you'll be needing police officers, although we usually ask you to have 1 per 100 people. What have you done in the past?
We have a very mild crowd of mostly families, and there hasn't been any need, there hasn't been any kind of trouble at all with this event.
Have you had over 100 people or under 100 people? in the
We have
past?
had over 100 people in the past. We haven't been required to do that.
And this is going to be a potluck?
It's going to be self-catered.
Self-catered. Oh, okay, so it's not like people are just bringing food in?
No, all food would be provided by the staff and volunteers of Foster Parrots.
Okay.
And certain restaurant donors.
That's great, that way no one gets sick from something weird.
Yeah, no, we have restaurant equipment that we rent, including food warmers, buffet warmers, and things
So
like
it's
that. So,
catered, sort of.
yeah, self-catered.
And beer and wine?
Open beer and wine.
Can I make a general comment on that?
Yeah, Dave.
I don't know why our application doesn't say anything about alcohol. It says food and drink or something like that here, but it doesn't actually, there's nothing in our application that, it says, will food or beverages be served? Well, beverages could be soda. I'd really like to see this application expanded a bit and to say, will alcohol be served? Not that I have a problem with your
Sure.
specific situation.
I did actually fill out and turn in application for a liquor license.
There's a second license that, the reason that they don't have it is that she has to also get a wine and beer approval as a second license. She's got 2 things she has to do.
Hold on one second, Lisa, why don't you
We
interject?
initially thought, after reading the pamphlet, that a Class F liquor license was required, but they're not selling beer and wine. I
Just providing it.
conferred with the solicitor, and they're providing it to buildings.
So therefore, it doesn't need a,
Doesn't need one. Correct.
okay.
So the beer and wine will be complimentary in a sense, as part of the cost of entering that?
Yeah, absolutely.
And have you done that in the past?
Yes. All 3 times.
Scott, do you have anything?
No question.
Okay. I just had a general question, if you don't mind.
Sure.
How many get adopted? How many on an annual basis? I'm just curious.
Those figures I would need to look into.
Oh, just general.
Adoption is a difficult thing with a bird that's been rehomed several times. A lot of times the reasons that they were brought to us to begin with prohibit their adoption. But we will adopt out if we feel they can't be rehabilitated to be birds with other birds. And those birds, unfortunately, they do tend to come back with a depressing regularity because of the same problems that they were given up to begin with. So it's just
I think it's very wise of you to be able to take the bird in and keep it. I think that's reasonable. I know you've done that in the past.
Yeah, well, our primary goal is to provide sanctuary for birds that are not, considered suitable for a home, which is unfortunately quite a lot of them. Last
They
year,
live a very long time.
they do, and last year we had 750 requests from people to take birds from them, which we couldn't accommodate. So yes, we do try to step up the adoption when we can, but to find an appropriate home for a bird, it takes a lot of time and effort, and we are currently still just a small group of people trying to take care of a lot of animals. We have actually are hiring an adoption director, so hopefully she'll ramp up the adoption program. We also try to broker adoptions between the birds we can't take and people who would like to adopt but perhaps can't find a good match at our sanctuary.
Yes, Steve?
One other thing, could I ask the chief if he has any problem with that, with no police officers being there? Chief, do you have any situation with that?
Yeah, go ahead, Chief.
Any issue
Come on
with
up.
that?
My feeling on this is kind of a common sense approach. I think many times they sell 150 tickets, but there's not 150 people there at one time. Many times less than 100. It's emergency personnel. A lot of that is designed, in my viewpoint, is inside a facility where fire might be an issue. So if they haven't had a problem in the past, I think it's a common sense. I hate to eat into their proceeds by hiring a police officer when they haven't needed one, and chances are at one time they're not going to have more than 100 people on the facility.
Excellent, thank you.
These people would be outside for most of the event anyway. They come inside for a tour and then the building gets shut down.
Yeah, it's noisy.
Because it's noisy and the birds need it. So they come outside and have it in our booth.
And we're 2 minutes away, so if you have any problems, please call.
Thanks, Chief. Appreciate it. I guess, is anyone out in the public wishing to be heard on this hearing? Yes, ma'am. Come on up to the podium, please. Introduce yourself, please.
Sure. My name is Terry Corbell. I'm their closest neighbor, and I'm behind them 100%.
Oh, good.
Thank you.
Yeah, they're
Excellent.
terrific neighbors, and the event is just a wonderful professional event every year, and
Oh, well,
I just wanted to say
That was
that.
really
Yeah, thanks.
useful.
Sure, thank you.
Thank you.
I'd like to make a motion to allow the special event permit for Foster Parrots Limited for their annual fundraising event open house scheduled for September 14th from 1 to 7 at Foster Parrots
The
on
waiver.
87 Woodville Alton Road, including the waiver on the application, the filing fee.
Seconded.
Okay. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Good luck.
much.
I hope you raise a lot of money.
Have a wonderful time.
Thank you. All right, next is open a hearing on an application for a special event permit filed by Jennifer Johnson for Holly Tree Campground for a Halloween party with iPod amplified music for dancing scheduled for September 14th, 2013 from 7 p.m. to 11 p.m. to be held at the Holly Tree Campground, Camp Pavilion, located at 109 Ashaway Road, Ashaway, Rhode Island, as identified as map 2, lot 42A. Is the applicant present? Come on up to the podium, please.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good to see you, Roy. Yes.
Hi, I'm
Introduce
Jennifer Johnson from
Okay.
Holly Tree Campground.
yourself. Okay. I guess,
It's a wonderful idea.
Thank you.
I mean, I think you haven't done that before that I know of.
No, we figured that the kids and the tenants in our park dress up in costume, and we'll do some like cheesy, like the musical chairs and do gift certificates for the best costume and stuff like
I
that.
think it's a charming idea. I mean, it's a very nice little campground, it's set back nicely, and your road has been redone.
Yeah, thank you.
216 is all done. Oh, we take personal responsibility for that.
Oh, yeah, 216, that's nice.
But I think it's marvelous, a wonderful idea for the children, especially having it during a nicer, instead of freezing or raining month.
Yeah,
For Halloween.
yeah. We figured it would, hopefully it'll be cooler and it won't be raining.
I think it's a great idea.
Thank you.
Anything else, Bob?
No, I actually
David?
think everything, they said everything nicely.
Jennifer, is this a child-oriented event?
It's no.
Or is it going to be adults with, dressing up also?
There will be adults dressing up as well. It's for all the people who are in our park, and no outside.
No outsiders?
No outside at all.
relatives?
Well, people that are camping with them that
Well, the question
weekend.
is, if Grandpa and Grandma want to come,
Oh, absolutely.
okay, so they can come, even if they're not in the park? So
If they're coming down for the weekend to visit with them, yes, they're
okay,
welcome to
okay,
attend.
But it's not going to be open to, Dave's husband can't come if he doesn't know somebody in it?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, it's-
Alcohol going to be served?
We're not serving any alcohol, no.
Good.
I think it's charming.
That's what I said, yeah.
I think it's a lovely idea.
Good.
Lisa, do
And the table,
you- okay, thanks, Lisa. And you all set, David?
I'm all set.
Okay. Scott?
I just have a question. I think I know what the answer is, but what does iPod amplify do? Because it's just like an iPod and amplifier,
It's
right?
like an MP3 player device where you store music on, and then we have like an amp that we can plug it into, so it's a little louder than hearing it through your ear pods and stuff.
I think that'll be interesting.
I didn't know how to write that in the application.
Yeah, how many, I guess, folks do you anticipate?
You know, we don't anticipate having more than maybe 50 to 75 people there.
It's not. a-
It's kind of an odd time of our year for our season. People are starting to close up because of other obligations at home. So it's hard to really put a solid number on it, but we don't expect that
And
many.
it's not a very large campground. It's
No.
not huge by any means.
Scott, do you have anything else?
No, that's it.
Jen, I just had a question. I guess these, I've never been inside there. Is that like fifth wheels all, or like, what's the setup?
They're travel trailers?
Okay, so you tow them with a truck?
Yep. mhm.
Okay, are there any fifth wheel as well, or no?
I think there's a couple fifth
Oh,
wheels
okay,
within the
all right.
park,
All
yeah.
right. How many sites altogether?
158?
All I can say is that I remember Tony Petrizzo, and he was really a character, and I miss him, and I think a lot of us that knew him miss him.
Oh, thank you. We miss them too.
I'd like to
I
make,
guess, hold on one second. The only thing, I guess I want to just make sure that, that you adhere to the noise ordinance timeframe.
Yes, I was
'cause we've had some.
educated on that.
Yeah. So, based on that, I want to make sure that that's known. And also, too, before you make the motion, I want to see if there's anyone out in the audience that wishes to speak on behalf of this. Yeah, then, come on up.
Vinnie Cordone, 75 Diamond Hill Road. I bought the campground, and in general, the campground is a good neighbor. I don't really have any issues with them. I've abutted them for 10 years, and I would say 95% of the time, it's quiet, so. But the reason they're here tonight is because of concerns I raised regarding the entertainment that does occur occasionally. Now, for 8 years, it was once a year. There was a thing in the middle of the summer. I didn't really say anything. I didn't care because I can understand they want to do, entertainment that's outside of the norm for some of their guests. Last year, it was 3, and this year we're now going to be on, well, this would be, I know one was canceled, but this would have been the 5th. So my concern is that we're going from 1 to 3 to more than 3, and it's starting to impact what I can do in the summer, after 7, 8 o'clock outside, because it gets pretty loud when they have concerts. The noise from the music, I might be wrong because I've never been there, but is it a concert you guys have?
It's not a concert, no.
What is it then?
Because
I've heard a band.
First of all, we only had a total of 2 different events that we had. We had one band that came in, which was my brother's brother-in-law's band. He came in and played for us. And then we had this same amplified iPod thing, but that happened 2 weekends in a row.
The second week, maybe I'm wrong. I mean, it definitely sounded like a band 2 weeks in a row.
We only, as a campground, did 3 things before I was advised that we're now supposed to do that and we're supposed to have a permit. And that's when we stopped and.
Yeah, and I'm not opposed to to you having a permit. That's not, I'm not here to say, oh, don't give it to them, or, but that's not my point. I mean, my point is it does get loud. And we're not talking loud like, obviously it's an event, so it's louder than just a regular radio. And when it gets to 11 o'clock at night, and then there's also subsequent noise after 11, because people don't just go right to bed, it does become borderline nuisance. Now, I know there's a noise ordinance, but and when I was on the council, when people used to come before us for licenses, one of the first questions we always ask, I remember like it was yesterday, there was a bar in Hope Valley asking for an entertainment function on their patio. And we asked them a lot of questions about the noise. Trucks at exit 1, noise. So my only concern is that there's some sort of regulation that ties in this from expanding into an all-summer issue. That's all I'm at. I don't care if they want to do it a couple of times a year, 2-3 times a year, they want to do something. I don't care. I'm okay with that. I'm fine. In 10 years, I've never said a word with anything they've done. And they have run a good facility. That's not the problem. But if it's like, somebody that abuts state land, you start taking a little bit, you take a little bit, and if nobody says anything, you're just going to assume everything's fine. It's possible the campers don't even know that there's people behind them. And that's fine too. And I'm not looking to give anybody a hard time, but I also this is my only forum to be able to put on a record what my concerns are. And I ask that the council, I don't know how you restrict it in any way, but that we don't become 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times a year, becomes 8, becomes 10, and then I'm not abutting the Indian Ranch in Webster. You know what I mean? It's a campground, and it should stay a campground within reason of some entertainment, so.
I think it's really well stated, because we haven't heard of anything before this. It's the first time they've come forward. So I thought, oh, it's the first time they're doing something. So, and obviously they're aware of it too. So now that we're aware and they're aware, we'll be able to say, yes, that's a wonderful idea, but it doesn't happen to happen 4 or 5 times a year. I agree.
I think, Vinnie, what you're concerned about, and I can see your concern if I live next door to the campground, is all of a sudden it becomes a weekend thing. Every weekend, there's something going on, and it involves, it's a noisy situation. And I think that, I'd be very concerned about something like that too. And I think now that the campground is aware that they have to have a permit for such events, we can keep a much better thumb on this situation than before. And I'm certainly not in agreement with having a weekend situation at all down there. I don't want any campground doing that, because there's people live around campgrounds, and they deserve a peaceful, it's like if you had a party at your house every weekend with a band or something like that, the campground, I'm sure would come to us and say, hey, listen, our people like to come down here to get a restful rest, and now, I got a neighbor here that's keeping us all awake until 11 o'clock at night. So I understand your situation, and I think that I may agree with this situation here with the Halloween party, but I do think that we have to limit, and I will limit the number of events that occur at any campgrounds or anybody's house, or any social organization for that matter.
I think too, since it's for children, is it a possibility that instead of going to 11, you could go to 10?
Absolutely.
I mean, I think that would be more reasonable, because 11 means you're really not finishing up till midnight.
Yeah.
And there are a number, I know you have quite a number of little babies in one space, but we have a lot of people with small children.
The
Would you be
hours that were
open?
chosen were because of,
Come on.
sorry. The hours that were chosen were because those are what, 11 o'clock is where our quiet hour is, what we try to enforce for our quiet hour. So that's why I put 11 down, but we'd be more than happy
Well,
to
because if you
break it
stop
up earlier.
music at 10, then indeed by 11, it truly is a quiet hour.
Yeah.
Because you do have to, people have to leave and gather up, and people are still happy and joyful. I think that's really good. So would you be open to changing
I'm
it
completely
to
open
10?
to it. I can get to bed earlier myself.
Can I,
Yes, Scott, go ahead.
can I direct a question to the chief of police?
Well, let's start with, do you have any questions for Vin or Jen?
Well, it's related to the noise ordinance.
No, I know, but do you have any questions for these folks before they sit down?
No, because I think it's not only music, but a lot of voices. I mean, I live, you know, you can hear the swishing of tires on 95 in some parts of this town, not even close to 95. I mean, let alone voices where people talk, and even if there's not music. And what I wanted to ask the chief was about, does the police monitor decibels? Because and I don't know what the appropriate decibel reading would be on noise. There's an ordinance in town, and how often is it enforced, and how is that determination made? Usually it's like a decibel reading, I believe.
But I don't want, see, I don't want to interpret what I'm saying as they're a problem, because they're not. I mean, they're a very good campground. I've never had an issue with them, and when I was on the council, there was never an issue brought to our attention. So I don't want it to come off that they're a problem all the time.
No.
That's not it. It's my only concern here today is that these events, you're aware of it now. I've raised my concern, it's on a record, so if they show up like 10 times next year, I'm not saying you will, you know, at least you know, all right, well, you know.
And it's what I think the chief said too, it's common sense.
That's the only reason, you know.
But it's also, the chief was saying, we can use common sense here. If there's a problem, someone will call, and we can deal with it from that point.
Yeah, I've never,
Because we
other than
haven't
these
had a
events, there's
problem.
never been, and even these events over the years, I haven't cared until it started
I think what
becoming a
the
little more
problem was
frequent.
is when we discovered that the iPod could go into the amplifier, it was a way to keep the kids dancing, and we did do it 2 weekends in a row, which we would never have done before. If we did anything in the past, we always tried to space it out, one in July, maybe
Right,
one in
exactly.
August, and one in June. This was a really one-off year, and I kind of knew when it happened, I said, gosh, we shouldn't have done that, and, you know. and
I just
here we
felt if
are.
I didn't
That's
show
the way
up,
to learn.
I don't think, we would never do that again. If we did anything next year, like I said, it would be something maybe beginning of the season and then another one at the end of the
that's,
season.
I'm more than, that's okay. Like, I don't have any, I'm not trying to stop you at all.
Right.
It's just,
But I
you
think
know.
it's a learning process for everybody. And, you know, we can easily, I mean, your points of view then are well taken. You're trying to do the best you can, too. The chief has said everything can be common sense. This is a small town, we can certainly do that. But I think it's well stated.
I think everybody's on notice
Yeah.
with this event, so I appreciate, Vin, you stopping by and giving
Thanks.
your concerns. Thank you very much. And Jen, thank you for
Okay,
everything.
thank you.
And does anybody else have anything for Jen? Okay.
I'd like to make a motion to allow the special event permit for Holly Tree Campground for a Halloween party for September 14th, 2013, from 7 to 10 p.m. at the Holly Tree Campground. All of the applications should be complete.
Fees received.
Fees received.
You have a second?
Second?
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Have a
Thanks,
good
Vin.
time.
I need a motion to adjourn as a licensing board and reconvene as council.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, aye.
We need to get the hands on.
Yeah. Hey,
Thank you, Lisa.
He's getting old.
Ask for what you need.
okay. Can I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Oh, you want anything pulled first? I'd like to pull the executive session minutes of July 22nd.
I like to pull all meeting minutes for action at the next meeting. Because I do have corrections. I haven't finished the executive session one of August 19th, which I just started reading,
I
so.
don't want to do that. I'm sorry, I don't want to do that.
Well, he wants to pull it all.
I don't want that.
Lisa?
And I would like to pull the August 5th executive session minutes because they did not get through their final review.
Okay.
And I have some corrections that I made today, and I want to give them to Lisa, so I know 2 weeks isn't going to impact anything.
Can we just say that?
He's making a motion. He needs a second and then we need to vote.
Right.
All right, well,
I'll make a motion that the consent agenda be approved with the exception of all the meeting minutes for the various meetings.
Is there a second? Having no second, Scott, that fails.
I'd like to approve the town council meeting minutes of August 19th, 2013, the executive session minutes of August 19th, 2013, the special town council meeting minutes of July 22nd and November 4th, set it as a hearing date for the renewal of liquor licenses and victualling licenses. Also to approve the abatement submitted by the tax assessor.
Seconded.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
You gotta ask for the no vote.
Okay, any abstentions?
I'm not abstaining, I'm voting no.
Oh, any noes?
No.
Okay.
Okay, I would like to, obviously, executive session is, she still is working on it. The reason I'm pulling executive session minutes of July 22nd is page 4. I need a page. Page 4, executive session meeting minutes of July 22nd.
Page.
Yes, fourth line from the bottom.
Yeah.
I wasn't at this meeting, so Councilor Capalbo commented on the weeping birch. I actually didn't at that meeting, but I did before, and I'm really glad someone brought it up. If that
Yes.
could be reworked, that can be reworked somehow.
Yeah, Mr. Ahern, someone mentioned it.
Yes, and I mean, I thought it was fabulous that someone brought that up, because I would like to find a cutting and to graft that weeping birch. It's a great birch if we have to kill it.
I'd like to move the whole thing. That's just me.
Oh, me too, but if we can't, I think he had a great idea. So that's the only reason I pulled it. Okay, I'd like to make a motion to pass the executive session meeting minutes of July 22nd, 2013 with the corrections.
Seconded.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. First, public forum. Anyone out there wishing to be heard? Having heard no one, next on the agenda is the town council president report. I want to give the council and the public an update on the Community Development Block Grant Hurricane Sandy Tier 1 request for generators. I attended last Thursday. Congressman Langevin had a town hall meeting in Kingston for his constituents, and ahead of time, before that meeting occurred, I decided to email his office and find out if there's any possibility of us in getting our generators back that were subsequently deleted from our Community Development Block Grant, Sandy Grant, Tier 1 request. And they were very nice. Even before the meeting started, two of his representatives, there was a Joseph Messino, who was actually the grants and coordinator, and then his chief of staff, Seth Clayman, were very gracious in explaining that they did get a lot of information from various municipalities about the generators being taken from that particular grant, Tier 1 grant, that they're going to try to put together a Tier 2 grant specifically for generators, hopefully the end of this month. I asked, do you know why it was, HUD removed the generators from the grant, from the Tier 1? They seem to think that, believe it or not, the wording or the verbiage in the initial Tier 1 grant, they didn't like the wording of it. So they're going to ask that it be resubmitted under a generator-specific Tier 2, and I'll be in touch with them throughout the month and seeing how that progress goes. And hopefully we'll have some progress with that particular grants for the Crandall House and the Town Hall. They also mentioned to me that Senator Reed's office has been notified about this as well. So I'm somewhat optimistic. I'm hoping that things will turn around and we'll be able to get this money for the grant, for the generators, for the two spots that we need. I think they're critical in the time of a hurricane. And
Especially in a rural community.
Absolutely.
yeah, the meeting went well. I like I said, I got my information very early on. I stayed for a little bit, and it got a little heated with NSA and WikiLeaks and everything that's happening in Syria. So I decided to bow out at that point. So, anyway, does anybody have any comments on that?
No, I think it's,
Nice job.
So yeah,
Yeah,
so
nice
thanks.
job.
So
Thank you for following up on
Thank you.
That went well.
Frank, that was wonderful.
Next is, we got from the state our community development block grant money, and that was, I think the council is well aware of our allocation, but we actually got double, almost double we got from what we got last year, and I just felt it was not often do you get double from the state, one year over another. So I thought it was worthy of at least mentioning in public so the folks know that we do something behind the scenes and work hard to get things accomplished. So, it was wonderful to see. We got $131,335 in community development block grant money, ranging from housing rehab money to rental rehab townwide to warm shelter money, Johnny Cake centers and all that stuff. So it was great.
I have no opposition to you telling people what we got and for
And
what,
also-
for what.
And also because of what David had said during that meeting, because we were very fussy during that meeting, actually. And he had said specifically to take out do you want to talk about?
$50,000 for that bridge repair and
put
to
it back
allocate
in.
it to other endeavors.
And indeed you did, and they did.
And I think it
looks like
helped.
It helped tremendously.
Yeah, so I think what I'll do is maybe on behalf of the council and the folks that are out in the audience, perhaps listening on TV, I'll go down the list of the monies that we were allocated. First one was the $4,000 for administration. Second was the housing rehabilitation townwide for $25,000. Third on the list is a rental rehabilitation townwide of $45,000. Next is the Langworthy field improvements of $10,000. I myself have taught little leaguers on that field, and it's really in tough shape, and I'm glad some money is going to go
It was all the children
to
there.
revamp that field. Next is revitalization management of $5,000. Next is the education exchange of $2,500. Next is the warm shelter job readiness of $10,000. And next is the domestic violence resource center renovations of $5,000. Next on the list is Warm 56 Spruce Street supportive housing improvements, $83.35. Welcome House operating of $7,000. Johnny Cake Center improvements, space conversion of $5,000. Community Housing Land Trust of $2,000, and then the Washington County, not sure what that is, Bill, DC operating. Do you know what that is, that acronym?
Yeah, community.
Okay, operating of $2,500, so altogether $131,335. I think last year we were awarded somewhere in the neighborhood around $77,000.
77.
Okay, yeah, so almost double. So kudos to the council and everyone else in town government that helped to achieve this goal, so.
Great.
That's that. Thank you, everyone.
Somebody else who's fussy about it.
Next on the agenda is the town manager's report. Bill McGarry.
Oh, thank you. Just very briefly, on August 19th, I attended a mandatory pre-bid conference for the complete rewriting and updating of the town zoning ordinances, which was held in the town hall. Also attending were Planner Jim Lampier, Building Zone Official Brad Ward, and the town clerk Lisa Cook-Martin. The date of my report in your package was August 28th, and on the very next day, the bids were opened at Town Hall for that project, and there was only one bid submitted. It was submitted by Mason and Associates, which Dave Westcott is the chief planner of that firm, and the amount of the bid was $36,915. Once that bid was received, we forwarded copies of the bid submission to the head of the planning board, the head of the zoning board, the head of the president of the town council, the building zoning official, and the town planner and myself to review to ensure that the bid that was submitted met all the specifications and requirements of the bid package. We're currently reviewing that information now, and hopefully we'll come to a conclusion as to whether or not we recommend the bid award to Mason and Associates, and tentatively schedule it for the October 7th town council meeting for the bid award.
Thank you, Bill. Anybody have any questions for Bill? Barbara?
Bill, can I just clarify something? There's, the revisions from Mason and Company, was it 36,000 something or 39,000?
36.
I know he said 36, I thought it was 39.
I've got $36,915.
Okay, 36,915? Okay, thank you.
Yep. Anything else, David? No. Scott, you have anything? No. Okay. Okay. Next on the agenda, under new business, is to discuss, consider, and act upon a petition of National Grid for a pole installation on Woody Hill Road. Yes, Bill, please.
Just very briefly, I put together a package and forwarded it to the town clerk to be received by the town council. National Grid was requesting permission to install a support pole and a support wire across from 117 Woody Hill Road. DPW Director Tim Teft inspected the property, took some photographs, and as you can see on his memorandum dated August 27th, that he believed that that type of work was necessary. Tim's here tonight if you have any questions, but he recommended that the council approve that request.
Can I speak to Tim?
Yeah, Tim, come on up, please.
I have a question.
Sure.
The original letter says that there's going to be a new pole and support location, or is it just the new support pole location?
It's going to be a support pole and with a guy wire.
Right, but it's not a separate new pole.
Yes, it will be. It's across the street.
Right, I know, but it's the support pole.
Right, yeah.
Right. I think that's really important. The more they can do those, the happier I will be during all of these hurricanes and ice storms, because I'd really like to see, especially as you go around, I really appreciate it if you can make locations where I'd love to see a support pole to help people in, especially since we have such rural neighborhoods and they're so spread out. You know, we just don't get to them. They just are not always first on the list. So I really appreciate you taking a look at it, and I certainly agree with the approval of a support pole.
Yeah. This is out in, is right almost on the Exeter line. And like I say, the pole that they're actually supporting is actually tipping in a little right now. So with the extra weight, I think they really definitely should have a support pole.
I absolutely agree with you. Thank you so much. Thank you for looking out for the citizen.
Scott, do you have anything?
No, I'm always a little leery about National Grid because of the double pole situation, but I will vote to approve this.
Okay. David, do you have any questions?
I'm good with it.
All right, I'll make a...
Yeah, make a motion, please.
Motion to act upon the petition of National Grid for a pole installation on Woody Hill Road.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, Tim. Okay. Next on the agenda is to discuss the status of the South Drive Drainage Improvement Project and consider awarding the bid to William Anthony Excavating, Inc., pending written approval from FEMA of the town's grant application addendum. And tonight we have, Bill, Mr. Martin, Sean Martin.
I would just like to start off by reading some information into the record. First of all, when we crafted the agenda item language, we crafted it in such a way that if FEMA was able to provide us with written documentation that our grant application addendum was approved, we could move forward tonight because it was properly advertised. Let me just say right out that we have not heard from FEMA one way or the other, so that's not going to be an issue for the town council this evening. Basically, we've worked on this project for a long time, and within the last 2 or 3 weeks, we've been working on this project almost on a daily basis. We opened the bids for this project on August 13th, and 4 companies submitted bids, with the lowest bid submitted by William Anthony Excavating, Inc., at $131,562. Now, this was initially a $100,000 project, with 75% being reimbursed from FEMA and the town paying its 25% local match, which would be approximately $100,000. During the last 2 weeks, at the request of FEMA, Sean Martin of Fuss & O'Neill, our on-call engineers, reconfigured a supplemental cost-benefit analysis justifying the benefit of the project at an increased cost level from $100,000 grant to $166,978. Fuss & O'Neill had originally estimated the construction to come in at $75,000, with added engineering costs of approximately $24,000 for the approximate $100,000 project. Now, unfortunately, the lowest construction bid came in at $131,562, for which we had only anticipated $75,000. So we're about $56,000 short on the construction end of it. We formally submitted our grant application addendum to FEMA about 2 weeks ago, and that was prepared by Sean Martin from Fuss and O'Neill, and he did a very good job on that. And it took them 2 weeks to let us know that they looked at it and they wanted some more information. The information that they required wasn't extensive, but we were very disappointed that they didn't tell us that 2 weeks ago. So Sean then provided them with the additional documentation that they had not previously requested a week ago Friday. Basically, the town is short approximately $56,000 to complete this project at this time. The question is what to do about that, and my recommendation would be to wait until such time as we can obtain a determination from FEMA whether they're going to raise the ceiling on the amount of the grant. If they do so, then that will give the town a green light to move forward and award the contract to William Anthony Excavating for the amount that for the bid that they submitted. That would alleviate the problem. If not, then we're going to have to negotiate with a low bidder and perhaps our engineering firm to reduce the cost of engineering and reduce the scope of the project, perhaps having DPW do some of the work and fund the remaining portion out of the town's reserve account or CIP. Because the amount of the funds that have already been expended for engineering services, we don't feel at this time that it's in the town's best interest to cancel the project, especially in the fact that we've made the commitment to the people in the area that we were going to move forward. You know, the worst case scenario by waiting would be that the project might have to be delayed. I've asked Sean Martin from Fuss and O'Neill to respond tonight, and if you have any questions with respect to deciding how the council wants to proceed, he's certainly here and available to answer those questions if need be.
Thanks, Bill, for that report. It does kind of put together everything that's kind of happened to date. I appreciate that. Sean, yeah, if you wouldn't mind, come up to the podium. I just, as a general comment, I'm disappointed, obviously, that the money initially, what we thought, didn't cover what the minimum bid was. I'm not sure how that happened, but that's water under the bridge. But
well, I can elaborate
maybe you can
if the
just
council
expand on it.
Yeah. Almost 2 years ago, we put the initial application together for FEMA. It was administered through the Rhode Island Emergency Management Agency, of course. But when we prepared this original estimate that goes along with the concept design, this is how we want to solve the problem. This is trying to think about what the town could afford as well. We worked with Bill and trying to establish the budget and then figure out what kind of storm can we, you mentioned the storms that we've been receiving, how it affects utility poles, and how does it affect flooding. And engineers use a lot of different design storms to figure out how big to make pipes and catch basins and things. And we determined at that time that probably the maximum type of facility that the town could afford was something that could handle a 10-year design storm. It doesn't sound like a lot, but it wasn't too long ago that most pipe systems and catch basins and things were designed for that particular storm. And even today, it's a significant amount of rainfall. It's over 5.5 inches of rain in a 24-hour period. So we basically concluded that that was the right way to go. The soils in the area are very good, and we figured that we'd take the approach of going with a system that we thought would fit within that budget, about $100,000 total. Unfortunately, when we put together concept design budgets, engineers, they're called opinions of cost, we like to put in contingencies. a contingency was not accepted in the application that we submitted. And at an early concept stage, and I think you can see in the range of bids what we're talking about, the low bid was 131, the high bid was over 200,000. And the reason that engineers do that is to account for those variations, and our standard form includes a minus 30% or plus 50%. And we would have been way up on the high side of that anyways. So I don't want to make excuses for being 50% less than what the bids came in at. It's very unfortunate, and I was just as disappointed as anyone. We didn't go into this project looking to make money, putting an application together, to solve a problem that the folks had. But at the end of the day, I still think it's a good project. I think the benefit, the cost of benefit that I calculated on this new application or this amended application is still at 2.9, and that's using a 20-year lifespan. Folks that might know the neighborhood, it's been around for 40-something years, and it's survived on leaching catch basins, which are just 4-foot diameter catch basins with holes in the side. The system that we've proposed for this area is a system of arch-shaped chambers that store a lot of water, and they go below the roadway. So our feeling is that even when it's designed according, it's designed for the 10-year storm, that you're going to see much larger storms get mitigated, where it's not all going to disappear at once, but you're going to have very, very large storm events that could be accommodated into the system. And in addition, the lifespan of a system like this that has pre-treatment on those leaching catch basins, all the sediment and everything else goes into them and requires a lot of maintenance, and they tend to clog. We did incorporate I wouldn't say elaborate, but we incorporated a treatment system that would be easy for the DPW to clean out and maintain, perhaps extending the life of that system to maybe 30 years or 40 years. People do find that with their septic systems, and this is a good way to think about it. So a benefit to cost of 2.9 is where we're at today. We're looking at the town spending upwards of $20,000 or more a year to pump or to send down loaders and things like that to remove ice and water. At the end of the day, I think that's the minimum benefit to cost that I think the town will realize. And it is unfortunate that initial investment is, for the town, it doesn't really matter. It's originally $22,000, $25,000, now it's $38,000, $40,000. It will take another year or two to realize to that break-even point before the town starts to see the benefits. That's kind of where we are. I just wanted the town to know where the original estimates came from. Anecdotally, in the office, we've been seeing higher bids in general, and I've had, $1 million, $2 million, $5 million projects that we're right in the middle on them, but we've seen them trending higher, and I'm not quite sure why that is. I think the market's stronger. I think the contractors are leaner these days, and certainly the cost of asphalt was one of the factors in this particular instance. So the town knows that, and the council knows that some of the details of the information that goes into this design, we didn't include chip sealing the pavement. We included 4 inches of asphalt, which is your standard for road construction. If somebody were to build a new road, that's what it would be. So that's what we included. So we didn't take the approach that we're going to go with the cheapest thing possible. We didn't put in a Cadillac, but we put in something that could get the job done in an efficient way. As Mr. McGarry said, we've been in contact with REMA almost daily. It was unfortunate they asked for additional information that we'd considered fairly incidental to the original information I submitted, which was technical and which is required to make a decision. But I did have to explain to REMA that the bids that we got doesn't reflect an increase in the cost of a real increase in the cost of the project. The cost is what it will take to build it, not what we estimated when we submitted the application. On the town's behalf, I just want to say that REMA is still looking for opportunities to give the town money, and they were pleased with the original application. So as was FEMA, I think Mr. McGarry and Tim Teft and I met with FEMA way back when, so I'm hoping that this will be resolved soon, and I've asked for a response within 2 weeks from last Friday, so that the next council meeting you'll have, hopefully, news one way or the other. If the worst-case scenario comes and they say, we're absolutely tapped out, we can't give any more money, we'll have to look at ways to make this work. And when I say work, I mean from a technical standpoint, from a budget standpoint. We want that the solution that gets installed will solve the problems.
Sean, I just had a couple, if you don't mind. I guess, have you ever had any experiences with amending an initial quote to FEMA? I guess, any success in that? Or is this like uncharted territory?
I can tell you that the day that we received the bids was the 13th of August. We contacted REMA that day, and they in turn got back to us on the 15th saying that FEMA was open to this. To hear within 2 days that there was a glimmer of hope was very encouraging. And subsequent to that, they asked for the additional technical information to say that FEMA wants to know that they're going to invest in something that's going to return dividends. And in fact, we're showing that it's at almost 3, and that's on the conservative side. And there's still a factor of safety in the design that we presented. So we feel that the design is robust, and it's going to, I think FEMA will notice that it's still a huge cost benefit to cost.
And how much has the town expended on the initial, I guess the engineering, I guess at this point has been expended, right? How much has that bill been? Do you know, Sean, at all?
The initial, the engineering contract was $22,260, and I think we only accounted for about $1,500 to help during the construction, so we're probably right around 20 at this time. We haven't expended any funds on these activities that we've undertaken over the past couple of weeks. I think from our perspective, from a business perspective, this certainly wasn't about the money, because on both projects we worked with Bill to kind of cut our fees back, and it is what it is.
Okay. I guess, from my assessments, I guess from the original bid, the town would have had to come up with about 56,562, something like they were short, somewhere around there.
Right.
If our addendum gets approved through REMA, FEMA, whoever you're submitting it to, of 166,978, that'll drop it down to about, our share to about 41,700, somewhere in that range. So it's about 15,000 less on the town's behalf if this is successful. So I certainly think, to Bill's point, waiting to hear from REMA, FEMA, whoever, on this addendum is very, very important. It's a lot of money. So.
And so that you're aware, that $166,978 figure that was requested of FEMA included a contingency, because, fool me once, I didn't want them to think that you enter into a contract with a contractor if he finds a boulder underneath the road that no one knows about, and we did test pits, but we didn't find anything. We don't want that to create another problem 3 months down the road. And if you read the conditions, I think they're open to things like that, but the fact of the matter is, when you're under construction, I see where we are today. We want to get this thing done before winter time. We just want to make sure that if they grant the additional funds, that we have a sufficient extra amount just in case.
Yeah, it's about 10,000, I think, in contingency, right, Sean?
Yeah, and we added the contingency only on the construction of 131, because the engineering was fixed.
Yeah, I've said enough. I know folks are chomping at the bit here. Sorry to monopolize you.
No.
But Barbara, go ahead.
Yeah, I live in the neighborhood, so it's a very important project to my neighbors, because indeed that particular problem has been ongoing pretty massively for 30 years. And it is quite a difficulty, because not only are you trying to solve the stormwater runoff issue, but you're basically solving a neighborhood's issue. And we have a very heavy child group
Right.
We had many, many, many children in Bethel Village, in our little neighborhood. And that particular one is actually an elementary school bus stop right on top of the ice sheet when it doesn't happen for 5 children. It's elementary, all the high school kids are up near the top. So I'm really hopeful that you'll be able to take care of this for us. I really do think Fuss and O'Neill has served Hopkinton very well. We've certainly been very pleased with your work, I think, overall. I certainly have been listening at Planning Board at many of their meetings, and I really have appreciated you, really working for the town, even against or in conjunction with other engineering firms to create something that works for us, not necessarily for someone else. And I do think the market is stronger. I think that is one of the major problems. All prices are going up across the board because the market is getting stronger, and that may certainly not have been anticipated 2 years ago, because you really started this 2 years ago.
Correct. Yep.
So I can understand that. Also, the chip seal versus asphalt, you put down it for asphalt. I know that a lot of our smaller roads, we usually chip seal, and I don't know what is done in Bethel Village, and I think Tim may know. I think we've got
Chip seal.
both.
That was
I
the
think we have
last.
both, asphalt and chip seal. Because
That was
part of
all-
it is Connecticut as well.
It was all asphalted. One part was just chip sealed a couple of years ago, that section of South Drive that we've always had the problem with.
Right.
And as far as doing this right here, I would never recommend putting chip seal over that.
Okay, so-
You'd have to put the asphalt, like he said.
The other thing is that one of the problems right at that corner is we have one neighbor who is right over up the hill in Connecticut.
Yeah.
And he's a very nice neighbor.
Yeah.
I have nothing against him. But the part of the driveway that he has is dirt, and it just flows right into those drains. And I don't know if there's anything we have done to please ask him to either rock it or seal it, because that is a horrible sand place, and it's actually coming out of Connecticut, not out of Rhode Island. So I don't think it's even in our bailiwick.
We have a couple of situations like that in town, and to be honest with you, I'm really not sure what we have
Yeah, what we
available.
can
I mean,
do.
I've requested the people, to try to keep it up, but what we can really do, I don't know.
Because I know one of the other neighbors put in asphalt, Frank did, but then we still have that one. And
Yeah, I'm familiar with it.
It's a relatively sloped, it's not steep, but it's sloped, and it just dumps the sand right into this catch basin. And the other question I have on that, while both of you were up there, project's useful life. Less than 1/3 of infiltration trenches in one study worked properly after 5 years, but had no pre-treatment. The new system has 2 pre-treatment devices to extend the system life, but if they were only working for 5 years, which is not a good sign, how far does pre-treatment work? And then, because, I mean, it's a real mess of a zone there.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if it failed in 5 years.
What'll happen if they're not maintained at all, if your DPW closed, what would happen is the flooding would start to occur again eventually, until it's cleaned out. The type of system we've put, there's the catch basins that we put in are large diameter catch basins with deep sumps, so there's a big storage area below the pipe outlet, and then there are hoods on them to make sure that trash and floatable things,
And all the
leaves and things
leaves.
stay in there. The second treatment, now these are in series, so one after the other. The second treatment method is, it's actually one of the trenches, and it's lined below the, before water can get into the stone, it goes through this fabric material. So water then goes into this trench, and any sediment or material that might make it back, might make it through the first treatment area would have to filter through the fabric, which is, even if you're familiar with the landscape fabric, that's effectively what it is. That will start to fill up with sediment if you walked away from it for 10 years, 15 years, or whatever. The reality is it's probably still going to allow water to get through the pipe, it's like a perforated pipe, or it's a slotted pipe, actually. So water would likely still get through and into the system and infiltrate. It'll just do so at a reduced performance. And, I want to follow up on one of the other things that are issues with infiltration systems is frequently if they're not protected during construction, like completely sealed off before the areas are stabilized, you'll have construction dirt and debris getting into these systems, and they have no pretreatment.
Well, I hope you've done as much as you can, because not only is it an important area, but we have our neighborhood is mature trees, mature
Yes.
oaks. We've got 60, 90-foot oaks and maples. We've got huge trees with big leaves,
Right.
and they're not biodegradable.
I stuck my head in a few of your basins, and
Yeah, and I'm sure Tim has seen even more of them. So I am just concerned that you're as aware of it as you can be, and you're doing as much as is physically possible. And I would assume that when we get a huge rain, that you're still going to get some flooding, and then it's going to go down faster.
Right. The design included a little bit of modification of the grades when the paving is done, so that we'd have a more pronounced flow towards the low point. And we certainly did consider that during a large, let's say 100-year event where you have 7, 8, 9 inches or whatever of rain, you would have temporary flooding, but that water would still pass through and infiltrate into the system. It's not like it's sitting around in a large stormwater basin and not going anywhere. So it'll dissipate fairly rapidly.
And I think most of the driveways nearby are not sloping toward the house, but we do
Correct.
have one house that has an extensive slope.
Yes.
But it's a little further uphill.
Yep.
So
Yep.
hopefully this will help that home too.
Yes, and we're aware of the house in Connecticut and the impact it has on the roadway. It's certainly a problem. I think this year, recently, they put something else down on the driveway. I'm not sure if they put reclaimed asphalt or stone or something. The last time I walked it was not too long ago, and they did something.
Yeah, one of the
stabilize
neighbors
it.
did, but one did not.
Okay,
So we
all
have
right.
one that's still into the dirt zone and one that's
Okay.
been slightly reclaimed,
Yep.
so that it's not dirt any longer
Yep.
anyway.
Yeah. So the pretreatment will extend the life of the system and ultimately make it easier for the DPW to get it
And
clean again.
DPW is aware of it, so.
Yeah, and Sean has also showed me how they put extra large catch basins in it so we could clean that out. And obviously, knowing it's a trouble area, and we have our own Stetco for cleaning them out, that's definitely something we'd keep right on to avoid future problems.
And the real issue is not so much the water, it's the ice. Because the children are, and all the cars and buses are right literally on top of ice sheets.
Yeah, well, you keep the ice
Right.
away and the water away. And
So I think
Just
it's,
getting fire trucks access around, I mean, that's one of the,
Yeah.
I've been in the winter, and that's a safety problem.
I'm hoping all this goes through very
Me
nicely.
too.
So,
Thanks, Barbara. David?
Why can't the bus stop be moved? Why do the kids have to stand on top of the ice?
I don't know, it's one of those school things where they have to get right out of
Not
their
buying
house. I know, exactly. They have to come right out of the house and into the bus. Don't ask me. I agree. Move it.
Move it 50 feet.
Right.
Move it out, or whatever it may be.
Dear
That's a
God.
school committee email.
Right.
Yeah.
No, I mean, it really is. It's one of those where you would think they could move slightly in one direction or the other, but it's not directly in front of these children's homes.
This whole situation is very disappointing. You know, we nitpick that budget every spring. We cut $500 here and $1,000 there, and all of a sudden, we're now hit with the potential of someplace between $15,000 and $25,000 more coming out of surplus, and it really hurts. As a taxpayer, I don't like the idea. I like the idea of getting this job done. But wow, Sean, is there a certain area that you said A and they said, oh no, it's definitely D? Was there something that you were way off, or we were way off on?
The asphalt went up at least 10% that we're aware of. And the infiltration system, I don't know, because it's not broken up into pieces as far as how much each contractor carried for stone and the chambers and all that stuff, excavation, disposal. I suspect that's where the bulk of it is. That's the biggest line item in the project.
We're talking tens of thousands of dollars.
Certain things we can price all day long. Everybody's going to pay or charge about the same to install a catch basin or a manhole. Those will be within 5% of those prices typically.
I really hope that REMA and FEMA don't give us the jaundiced eye on this thing and say, oh, what's the problem? You came in over budget, and now all of a sudden you want more money from us, you know? Don't you guys know how to put together an estimate, you know, and give us a hard time about this?
Right.
I like to see the project done. I hate spending the extra money, but, you know, and I hope for the best in getting additional funding from the feds.
I don't want to try and sound like the optimist, but
Oh, yeah.
if it's, I'll try.
If there is a delay, are we talking a delay, Bill, of next spring into next spring?
Oh, that's not.
Depends how fast FEMA gets back to us.
The potential's there though till next spring though. Is that what you're saying? I mean, because we can't, I guess you can't say, nobody can say when they're gonna get back to us. They can get back to us in 2 days, they get back to us in 2 months.
We have no idea, but we call them almost every day,
Yeah.
REMA, to have them put pressure on FEMA for a time-sensitive decision, because we
Yeah.
told them that time is of the essence.
Yeah.
But one thing that we have not mentioned is the fact that, and this is important, is that the scope of the project has not changed.
Correct.
And neither has a 75-25% split. And those are two big factors for FEMA, and those haven't changed. Certainly when they see that bid, 131,000, I mean, that's the low bid out of four.
Yeah,
So, I mean, if they think that we're trying to pad it up, all they have to do is look at the bid submission packages.
Right, so,
Add the engineering plus the contingency, there you are.
Yeah, so, I mean, I don't think it's unreasonable, and I think with the, I mean, you never know what's going to happen, but with the supplemental documentation that's been submitted by Sean Martin to FEMA, I mean, at least I'm cautiously optimistic, and it's worth waiting for.
Sure.
You know, you never can tell what's going to happen, and the sooner we get a decision from them, the sooner we'll be able to make other changes to make this project work.
I also
If
think
we
it
don't
did
get it.
start 2 years ago, and prices in 2 years really have gone up.
I think that's true.
I mean, by a lot. You know, the market's much stronger. People really need to make money now.
I think that it's also important to note that between Fuss and O'Neill and DPW and myself contacted REMA and FEMA almost on a daily basis. I mean, we're really putting a lot of pressure on them in order to get a decision from them in a timely fashion. So we're doing as much as we can do to try to get a quick and favorable decision, and
Thank
we
you.
just have to wait and see.
Thanks.
Scott?
Thank you, Bill.
Yeah, I do have a question. You know, when we buy fuel in the town, it's usually somebody makes a bid and it's over whatever the price is at the Port of Providence. Is it ever possible to do these bids in the future that it's so much over or whatever the materials they use, whether it's asphalt or any type of stone? Is that possible to tailor bids like that? Because I was thinking of the fuel situation that we have and whether or not that's relevant in something like this so we don't get caught off guard.
we deal with that when there's a timing issue. We build in contingencies, and and that is, we think it's going to be 100,000, but, you know, there could be price fluctuation in the next 6 months or when the project could get built. So we could then add a 10% contingency on a project that actually has detailed design drawings. Is that what you're asking?
Basically, I was thinking about the fuel situation, how we address that.
You mean buy it ahead almost?
When people buy a bid, they say so much at the Port of Providence, and obviously, when you buy supplies, whether it's asphalt or any type of material, is it possible in the future that when we do any of these type of construction projects, we could figure that in so that we don't get caught off guard?
Lock it in, you mean?
Yeah.
Well, I think, hold on, Bill.
I think, I understand where you're getting at, but I think the reason for that is, you know, the price over the Port of Providence prices, because the volatility of those prices, I mean, they change daily.
Yeah.
Whereas prices for like asphalt for a project, although they may change slightly from, you know, week to week and month to month, it's more, because they don't change so frequently, it's much easier to just build in a contingency. But what you're talking about are volatile changes on a day-to-day basis. And that's
Well, that
what fuel
idea
is.
just entered my head, and I just have two
Yeah,
other.
that's kind of almost like pre-purchasing, and that could happen with a large volume purchaser of asphalt, for example, Narragansett Improvements or Cardi or some of the other big asphalt paving contractors that actually make the product, they can certainly influence that, that cost.
Yep.
And 4 years ago, 5 years ago now, it seems, the volatility of petroleum and the related products in the construction industry was huge. And
Okay,
it did change very quickly.
The South Drive situation's been around for quite a while now. My consideration is we've had other roads that haven't been accepted in the town road system that have had mechanical problems. And what I think the council has to do is protect the town, so any roads that we bring into the highway system, or any of those that we currently have in that have potentially the same problem, because I could see this taking off that, depending upon the weather and flooding conditions or whatever, that this could skyrocket in other areas in town. And how could the town really nip it in the bud so we don't have this problem in the future?
Well, that's an open-ended question.
Yeah, I know, and it's not, it's a little off the scope, but that, it entered my mind.
No, but it's an interesting question, and what I think to shed some light on when the application goes in versus when the grant is issued, you know, if it's 2 months, that's one thing. If it's 6 months, 8 months, 10 months or longer, that's an entirely different thing. And it's hard to kind of backtrack, and I think we want to further this discussion, even though REMA says that they want to come meet with the town and try and give them more money and all this. We want to have that frank discussion about how can we prepare an application to be more effective and to be more realistic. We laid out all our cards on the table, and we did so at this resubmission. We said, look, here are the actual bids we received. Here's my contract. This is what I'm getting. Everything was right there. But we have to account for those changes in pricing if this is going to drag on for as long as it does. I don't know if there's a nice way to say it, but the fact of the matter is we have to figure out a way we can build in contingencies to account for price fluctuation or whatever, unforeseen, because the town's not going to spend $20,000 to submit an application for a grant. He's on your shoulder.
What's stink bug? Jump,
Get up, Scott.
push up, Scott.
Scott's a hero.
So,
I mean, the highest bid was
It was-
Narragansett
it was
Improvement,
astronomical.
And they make their own asphalt.
yeah,
So, I mean, they even make their own, and they came in as the highest bid.
yeah.
So,
They're-
you know, others are buying it from them, actually.
They might be pretty busy
That's
right
only
now.
one aspect of the project.
Right,
Yeah.
right, I know, but I mean, it's called, they're
but-
the highest, and they make their own, so it's cheaper for them on that level.
But we have to figure out how to get the applications into FEMA in a way that is realistic and not hopeful.
Right.
Sean, when did you give the soft deadline, I guess, to REMA or FEMA? I guess you said-
I said 2 weeks from Friday.
Okay, so-
The additional information we submitted last Thursday. I submitted the formal letter on Friday.
So 2 weeks from, well, another week from this Friday.
Yep.
How long is it? Is the bid good for? 30 days?
The bid's good for, I think, 60.
60 days? Okay, that's good.
Let's see what happens.
Well, you're brave to show up tonight, Sean. Thank you.
Well,
No, I appreciate it. I'm just
yeah.
kidding you. But I appreciate your insight, and very informative, and I appreciate you being here, and Bill's work and everyone else's work on it, Tim as well. And now let's just keep our fingers and toes crossed, I guess, until we hear back. And like I said, getting word a couple days after the submission, I guess, I'm going to take that as a positive takeaway. So we'll see what happens. So, but thank you very much.
You're welcome. We'll stay with it.
Yeah,
you
thanks,
so
Sean.
much.
Thank you very much.
Good night.
Okay. Let's see. Last public forum. Anyone out there wishing to be heard?
Come on, Tim.
Okay, Chief Palmer? No, okay. See you, Sean. Motion to adjourn, please?
So
Mr.
moved.
President?
Sorry.
Mr. President, I move that we adjourn in memory of the late Virginia L. Howard, Kevin F. Donovan, Dale K. Jansen, Richard H. Sr., and Audrey R. Gruber.
Okay, we have a second?
Sure, second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, Scott. Good night, everyone.